You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney Theme Parks podcast, and this is show number 501 for Sunday, the 5th of May, 2024.
Where dreams begin.
Hello and welcome to this week's Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my jolly good chum Jane Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin. Hello there, Jane.
Hello there, Michelle. How are we doing? I'm looking out at sunshine and blue skies. I'm quite excited at the moment.
I'm looking out, sunshine, blue skies. My countdown is about to hit the double-digit dance, so exciting things are happening. But I just want to take a moment. I just want to take a moment to say to everybody who listens to this show that has interacted with Jane or I, you are not listeners to us. You are our family. You are belonging to our Disney Dream Girl family. And when one of you is hurting or unwell or unfortunately passes away, we feel it because we feel that you are our family. And when we lose a family member like we did this week, it hits us. It really, really does. And the loss of Marla, I don't know if anybody has looked at any of the pages and comments that have been put on her Facebook from people that maybe just spoke with her online or had the pleasure to meet her. They all said the same thing. She was the sweetest, kindest soul you could ever possibly wish to meet. She instilled what makes a good Disney fan. And she was the ultimate Disney fan. But she didn't just have her Disney fandom. She loved human nature. She loved the Osmonds. She loved anything Las Vegas. And it was an absolute pleasure of meeting Marla a few times. And she came out when we was in Las Vegas. And we spent a couple of days with her. And it was a joy. And one of the last things Marla did for me is she sent me a voucher for Garden Grocer to be able to buy some resort delivery goods for me for my upcoming trip. So in return, I went out and I bought some of her favourites. She used to love getting the different flavoured Jaffa cakes, Jane.
Oh.
And I'd seek out the cherry bakewell, the pineapple, the orange, and I'd send them over. And even now, on the floor in the study in a little box is my Marla box to send to say thank you for that voucher. There's some Toblerone, there's a chocolate orange, there's some Jaffa cakes, etc. And it just reminds me that I'll never get to do that bit of kindness for Marla. But you know what? I am going to continue trying my very best to share Disney pixie dust and do kind things for others, because you never know what that action could have on that person's life.
Yeah, it's a very sad time, but I think we have to take solace in the memories that we have of Marla. And, you know, this goes across the board for people throughout your life, isn't it? You know, always lead by example, always say hello to people, always give them a smile, ask how they are. It's surprising what you'll get back in return. And like you said, Michelle, just doing a little bit of pixie dust. It doesn't have to be anything expensive. It just has to be done with a little bit of thought. Can go an awful long way and can brighten somebody's day when they're feeling down or whatever might be happening in their lives. But we cherish the memories and take those memories forward with us, don't we?
100%. And I will be making up my little gift bags to give out to people as acts of pixie dust this year in honour of Marla, just to sort of remind myself she was the ultimate Disney fan. I don't care what competition Disney ever wished to run, she was it, and she was one of our most fiercest supporters on the podcast as well, and for that I was eternally grateful for. Anyway, let's move on, because I gather we have got some on this day in Disney history, Jane.
Yeah, I've only got a couple of little ones this week for Sunday the 5th of May. So, and they're quite old ones, a couple of birthdays in fact. So 1905 saw the birthday of a chap called Floyd Gottfredson.
Oh.
Now, he actually was responsible for bringing the Mickey Mouse comic strip to life. So he was hired in 1929 as an apprentice animator and in-betweener. And just when the comic strip was about 4 months old, he started working on it. But the amazing thing with this is he continued to produce the Mickey Mouse comic strips for the next 45 and a half years. 45 years drawing Mickey Mouse. That is just like, talk about loving your job. Isn't that amazing? 45 and a half years doing something that he obviously loved to do.
Probably take me 45 years to perfect drawing Mickey Mouse.
You know what? I have been known to draw an odd Mickey, and I was taught by my lovely husband to draw him once over, and I was not too bad at it, but it's a long, long while since I did it, so I'm not even going to attempt it now. Anyway, moving on, just ever since 1929. Another birthday. This is a singer, a voice actress, and a Disney legend called Eileen Woods. Now, she was actually brought on board in 1948 as a favour for her songwriter friends, who were Mac David and Jerry Livingston, and she did some demos. A little song called Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes, and So This Is Love. The great thing was, although she'd done them as demos, Walt heard her versions and immediately hired her as the voice of Cinderella. How cool is that? So helping out friends by doing these demos, and then she ends up being the voice of Cinderella. And a little quote from Eileen Woods is, "Working with Walt was the most wonderful part of all because he was a true visionary in every word." Oh, yeah. Little feel-good moment. There you go.
We like those.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to hop to Disneyland to start this week's chat.
Oh, okay.
This month, the month of May, is the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And at the Disneyland Resort, they have got some special menu items.
Oh, we like an excuse for some new food, don't we?
Well, you know, sometimes it's just Instagram fodder, but sometimes they actually taste very good. And at the Tropical Hideaway, they have got a Dole Whip pineapple ginger mint float.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing.
It looks delicious, I must admit, but the idea of ginger and pineapple screams to me cheesecake.
You thinking of a ginger crumb base?
Well, it hasn't actually got a ginger crumb base, but it does have ginger seasoning on the actual pineapple Dole Whip, and it has a sort of infused stick of pineapple with it, and it has the mint. I have seen a few people who have tried it and they've sort of said, well, we didn't really get the mint, but to be quite honest, I don't really think the mint stands any place on the delectable mix of ginger and pineapple, because you don't need it. Maybe a sprig of mint on the top to get that sort of cheesecake vibe going down, but
yeah, no,
that sounds
okay. Yeah, I think it's the ginger and pineapple that would intrigue me.
Possibly so. They've got some really interesting food on this festival, though. And to bear in mind, they're also running Pixar Fest and all of the extra food that is connected to. So,
of course, so lots going on at Disneyland at the moment.
Yeah, there is also available flavours over at Walt Disney World as well, as I mentioned. Tropical Hideaway, you can pick up the special Dole Whip. They are also going to have a shrimp and chive pot sticker, which we call, what do we call them in the UK? We don't call them pot stickers, we call them something else I've forgotten.
I don't know really.
They're like a little dumpling, we called them.
Yeah,
from Wagamama's.
So. Yeah.
And that sounds really, really good. They've put in the Sweet Lumpia, which is the pineapple and cream cheese filled sort of phyllo pastry. I don't really like that. I've had that at Walt Disney World before. It's not something that's grabbing me and saying must try. But at Aunt Cass Cafe, there's a yuzu bread pudding. Oh my word, it's got lemon yuzu curd, blueberry compote in a graham cracker crust with whipped cream.
Ooh, lemon and blueberries, nice, yeah.
Absolutely. And then there's the San Francisco clam chowder. Oh my word, in a bread bowl. That is like a meal for two.
Nice. Yeah, very hearty.
But if you are not based over in Disneyland, do not fear. You can have some fill in Walt Disney World. There's lots of things on the menu at Disneyland. I must admit, it is really, really staggering the amount of food. But there are some classics at Walt Disney World. Of course, they had to come up with a cupcake. Instagram fodder. I'd rather think about the really nice food. And something that really grabbed me was at the Nomad Lounge. They have some Bangkok chicken wings.
Ooh.
A fish sauce caramel, peanuts and cilantro.
Ooh.
That really, really got me thinking about it. At Tiffin's, there's a butter chicken, which has a chickpea rice croquette, English peas, young squash and pickled onion. But bear in mind, my viewpoint with Tiffin's is it's fancy food with a fancy price.
Yeah, maybe look elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, have a little look around on the menus for that and see what you fancy. And let us know if you find something that makes you go nom, 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 nom. And we will share it with everybody else.
Interesting.
So, Jane.
Yes,
1st of May brought a celebration.
It did indeed, yeah.
Not only was it the beginning of May and we might be seeing a glowing orb in the sky, but it also brought an anniversary. And Disney loves a good anniversary, especially if the ones column has a 5 or a 0 in it.
Yeah, if it's a nice round number, we like to celebrate.
Yeah. So the 35th anniversary of Disney's Hollywood Studio was celebrated. And there has been all sorts of things happening in the park. Of course, there was merch and there was all sorts of availability of other things you could do. The WDW News Today team had put on a special event that people were able to go to or watch even online, which I thought was a nice touch, that you could pay for a streaming service of the event. So you could still join in a way if you lived overseas. Sadly, time clashes, time work-life balance didn't work for me to subscribe to that. But they weren't doing it to raise money for them. They were doing it to raise money for a very good cause, which kudos to them, because doing a big event like that must have been immense.
Yeah, especially when we didn't really know up until the kind of like the 11th hour that Disney were actually going to be doing anything for the anniversary. So, yeah, kudos to them for doing it.
Yeah. So we posted on the Disney Dreamgirls podcast family page on their Facebook this question. What are your favourite things about this park? Do you miss anything or want something adding? So I pinpointed particular listeners that I knew that would have a particular viewpoint, and then others chipped in as well. And the first person I went to was Deborah Wolf, because Deborah has been over to the parks this year already. Yes. And she says, I'm always tempted to say that the Studios is my favourite park because the Hollywood Tower Hotel is my favourite ride. I love several others though. But the flow is really awkward because of the way that it sort of chunks together and you've got a lot of backtracking when you're walking around. And she did say something that she would have liked, and a lot of people echoed Deborah's thoughts. She wishes they could have kept the Great Movie Ride and put Runaway Railway somewhere else. I
have to admit, when you raised the question on the page, that was probably my first thought as well. The classic, why do we have to get rid of something to put something new in? Why can't we keep both things?
There is the space in Hollywood Studios to have put something else in. And I love the fact that it's called Hollywood Studios, to have that link to films. And yes, it would have been nice to keep some of the classic scenes, but introduce some of the more iconic newer films as well into that attraction. And I think it was a great use of a basically people eater, because lots of people went into that attraction at a time because of the way the ride operates. So yeah, I agree completely with that, and a fair few people made that comment. What did our good friend Tracy Farley have to say about Rock and Roller Coaster, her favourite attraction?
Well, yeah, because obviously this is a big fave of hers, and I mean, she's commented this is something that I'd seen about not so long ago, that the contract with Aerosmith is coming to an end next year. Now, if this is true, it's going to be interesting because at the moment, Rock and Roller Coaster seems to suffer with a lot of downtime, had a big chunk of downtime
Mm.
this time last year, and it's doing the same this year. It is a 26-year-old, I think it is, roller coaster, so that obviously brings a load of potential issues with it. So she did say some new theming would be good. Obviously, over in Disneyland Paris, they've turned it into an Iron Man Avengers
Mm.
type ride. But could there be just a completely new ride put in that building, perhaps?
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah.
David Maruka suggested something.
Mm.
He suggested a retheme to Power Station from the Goofy movie, and he says there's been a lot of rumours about that online.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, that would work really well because we have been seeing Powerline Max over at
Yeah.
the Tower Hotel, and being hit by lightning power, it kind of technically does ish mix.
Yeah, and it would obviously keep the music theme going as well, wouldn't it? Which would tie in, and it would save them from a cost point of view. If the contract with Aerosmith is coming to an end, and they wanted to keep it music themed, then they're going to have to pick another band to take over, which obviously is an expense. Whereas you've got Max as Powerline, with therefore the music is your own. You're not having to outlay for that, are you?
Although Shannon Jordan, our lovely, lovely family member, suggested something that got me very excited. Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
Could it be the Doors type ride we have been yearning for?
Well, I have to admit, this was on my little list as well. It was like, when you say, what would you like? And it's like, I love the Monsters Inc. over at DCA because I just love Monsters Inc. and it's a big favourite of my moles. So I've got a very soft spot for it. But yeah, a Monsters Inc. ride would be very welcome, I think.
I really love that. And bringing that franchise into the park, in that part of the park, but having an adult themed attraction, which is a little bit thrilling, opposed to the more sedate version over at DCA, I think would be a good go. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Another mention that she made as well was the revamp of the Little Mermaid studio area, because that attraction, I gather it got some damage during its shutdown, some mould issues, etc., and it's coming back. So
It is,
that
yeah.
part of the park is very dead because there's the whole Star Wars area, there's the meet and greets, there's the closed shop. So it would be nice to have something invigorated in there. Have, the Little Mermaid ride back up, maybe a meet and greet area for her. That would be really great.
Yeah, it's a bit of a peculiar area. I mean, I remember that area going back in the day, was where you went for your tram tour to go behind the scenes, in air quotes, and the old launch bay used to be the animation building, so you could go and see animators at work, and you got that feeling of which it was always intended, I think, of being the equivalent of the old Universal Hollywood studio tour. It was evoking all of that sort of vibe and era. So I do kind of lament that. I do miss that sort of element to it. We kind of seem to have stepped away from the behind the scenes of the movies or the making of the movies vibe that it was initially set up with, especially with the likes of the Great Movie Ride no longer being there. But yeah, that whole area now, whenever I see people on vlogs and stuff, it kind of feels a bit of a dead space. I know you've got the kids Playhouse, Junior, whatever they're calling it nowadays, in there. But how much of your demographic is that actually appealing to? I hate to be the one to say that, but
Especially when you consider the majority of rides at Hollywood Studio are more of the thrill base in that part of the park as well. I do think you've hit on an idea there with the meet and greets. David Maruka again says, how about some Marvel meet and greets? Now, I know there's this arrangement
yeah,
with the Universal licensing deal, but there are some characters that don't have that issue. And he did say Miss Marvel is a perfect example how empowering for girls to see someone that is female, that is a powerful character, that isn't a princess.
It's to say, it's a tricky one because of the whole clash with Universal and they're not allowed to do certain characters. And I suppose that they've got to look at how things have been successful in the movies and successful on Disney Plus. I really enjoyed the Ms. Marvel series, but I know it wasn't a big success, so that might be a reason why it's not happening, because it's still got to be characters that the vast majority of people have heard of, and if people haven't been following the Marvel on Disney Plus, they may not be aware. And we know the Marvels movie back in October, November last year didn't do very well at all. So it's a tricky one, especially with having Universal just down the road. They can't bring in as many characters as they would like as they can do at DCA. So tricky one.
I did ask my favourite armchair Imagineer, Stephen Klemowska, for his thoughts. And as usual, Stephen came back with a 3,000-word essay. So his first plan for Hollywood Studios was to get a time machine and to get Disney to do a proper deal and get the rights for J.K. Rowling to bring in the Wizarding World into Disney and added it into that park. So he suggested that. Then he said, well, why didn't they sort of move Star Tours to be within the whole expansion pad for Batuu?
Yeah, I must admit that was my thing. It's like, I mean, you know, I know Star Tours can be a little bit of a Marmite, you know, a love or hate sort of ride for people, but it does feel a little bit strange that you've got Launch Bay, which we've just talked about, and you've got Star Tours, and they do feel like they should be in that whole Galaxy's Edge area. But of course, you're dealing with things that aren't in the same time frame, which, you know me, you're going to get me onto OG Star Wars and what Batuu should have been. So perhaps that's, you know, that's what they should have done. Made Galaxy's Edge part of all of the Star Wars universe rather than concentrating on the sequels. And then you could have put Star Tours and all the meet and greets over that way.
Absolutely. And he said, can you ever imagine an Epcot without Spaceship Earth?
No.
No. So why should we ever had to imagine a Hollywood Studios without the Great Movie Ride? So he's saying the same as what we've mentioned earlier, that they should not have dispatched that attraction, maybe invested to up it, and then thought, right, where else can we put this attraction? Because we need a Mickey and Minnie based ride in the animation park. 100%. Completely agree. Stephen, fantastic points from you, as always. I also contacted Catherine Hall Wong, who is a Disneyland local, and said to her, you know, what do you think? And she said, well, a Pixar-themed area that connects to the Toy Story area would be good. So maybe something like an Incredicoaster attraction, maybe a Radiator Springs type attraction to really get a thrill into that park, to really have it compete with the thrill rides that they have over at Universal.
Yeah, it would be lovely to expand Toy Story into more of a Pixar land rather than it just being Toy Story, wouldn't it? You know, and be able to bring in all of those plethora of different Pixar characters and open it up to a great big expansion as well, really, because there would be lots of things that you could then future add on. But obviously I can't figure out the land and, you know, what the space is available and how far they could extend out. So perhaps that's, you know, an area of concern.
Yeah. Vicky Marie says quite simply, what about the name? I miss it being MGM.
I must admit, Vicky, being an OG Disney World person, the number of times I have to consciously think and go, no, it's not MGM, it's DHS. I proper have to stop myself most of the time. So yeah, bring back MGM. Much easier.
Guys, it could be worse. We could be having the park name change completely like they've done with Paris. So let's not rock the boat.
Yeah. No, let's not.
But while we're talking about all of this, there is one thing that as Disney fans, that unites us more than anything? Food.
Would that be food? How did I know you were going to say food, Michelle?
Why did they have to close Star in Rose Cafe?
Oh.
Yes, I know they've opened trolley treats over the road. And I know some of the treats. But guys, Star in Rose Cafe was an icon of a place to go to. Keep Starbucks doing their coffee, but the treats could have been at Star in Rose. I used to adore their cupcakes. Why? Because they tasted good. They looked good as well. But the fault was on the taste. You could pick up the most amazing tomato bisque and it was like $3. It was amazing. You could get a bagel for breakfast for $3 and it was toasted and you could add some cream cheese to it and it would just add to your day. Tracy Farley mentions the staggering sandwiches you used to get there.
Yeah.
Okay, they were about $10 with some chips, crisps to us.
But they were immense, and I always have memories of that particular eatery always being busy, being busy.
Yeah, the sandwiches. Oh my word! You used to get like 8 ton of pastrami in the pastrami sandwich. It was like you needed to be a weightlifter to pick up the focaccia. So yeah, and when obviously Star in Rose went, what happened to our much beloved carrot cake cookie? It left its writer's stop and went into the Starbucks eatery and they changed the recipe and it's very different now. It's still good, don't get me wrong, and I still do think it's a very good priced dessert that you can share between people, but it's not the original incarnation, which was cookie shaped. This is now more like a big whoopie pie.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. Should have just kept it the same. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
The saddest thing, Jane, that really makes my heart ache is when I went at Christmas, I went towards the Christmas shop. What a sad state of affairs. It wasn't open. It had paper covering in all the windows. The Muppet shop next door hasn't reopened yet. And it's just like Death Valley there. There's nothing going on.
No, I mean, I used to love that little Christmas shop, and I've got a photo of me stood outside of it in, oh, crikey, I want to say 2004, maybe it was 2000, I can't remember now, looking very sad because it was closed. It's been closed for an awfully long time. And like you say, that area there is just kind of, it's like a dead spot, isn't it?
Yeah. It was our little link to It's a Wonderful Life, to be able to go into the park and choose Christmas ornaments, have a picture with the snowman outside. But also, this is from our lovely friend Caroline Gray, she says she misses going to the Sorcerer's Hat to buy and trade pins, which again, you can't really do because they've put them into the shops.
Yeah, I have I have 2 memories. I bought a D23 special pin that I still got from the Sorcerer's Hat. And the other memory I have is of looking around very intently at all the pins, purely because it was absolutely raining like you wouldn't believe, and we were using it as shelter. So we were all 4 of us very intently looking at pins as though we were very, very interested in buying some. We weren't. We were just wanting to keep dry.
You know, so many people commented. Erin Castillo commented. Eric Warren talking about the original things that are in the park. You know, the Muppets area, much, much love to that. And I am so pleased that area is still vibrant. It's still alive. We've got Piggy back at her wonderful fountain. We have got Rizzo's Pizzeria over the way. So it's really nice to have that little Muppet hub. But give us our Muppet shop back.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know why that's not open again.
Yeah. Anyway, lovelies, we would love to hear from you. What is your one wish for Hollywood Studios to take it into the next century, to make it to the next level? We all love it, but when you love something, you also need to critically look at its imperfections and think, yeah, we can do better. So let's see what we can come up with and hope and pray in the future we get some answers. Anyway, that's about wrapping it up for this week. I would like to take a moment to thank our wonderful Patreon supporters, patreon.com/Disney Dreamgirls. They support our show financially and in return get additional audio content and a few surprises along the way. You can catch our Disney life over on Instagram @DisDreamGirls, and you can chat more about your Disney life on Facebook at the Disney Dreamgirls podcast family. But until next week, it's a goodbye from me.
And bye from me.